We've got camera people here, Digital Bolex, very special guests. And of course, Mitch from Planet 5D, planet5d.com. You guys, Elle, Schneider, and Joe Rubinstein, have created the Digital Bolex. You did it as a Kickstarter project.
Yep.
You raised an enormous amount of money. You were on the set last year talking about, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. We have a prototype in your hands, 2 different lens mounts, lots of changes that you made due to what consumers wanted, and the camera will be shipping soon?
Next couple months.
Next couple months. So we're in April, say August?
Probably before then.
Before then?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And remind everybody what some of the features are of the camera. This shoots like a true Super 16 with raw video, and it's supposed to look amazing. You're using a Kodak sensor. I'm pulling this all from the memory bank, by the way. You got real XLRs.
Yep, Phantom Power.
Thank you, Mitch. Phantom Power, and you got a lot of other great features. So let's talk about this.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, this is a 2K raw format digital cinema camera that basically gives you movie quality images for $3,000. Global shutter, analog sensor, really nice film-like look. Some of the other features are 24-bit 96 kilohertz sound, so you get really good sound recording. One of the things that our backers had requested is analog gain stages for the audio. So these are audio pots that at an analog gain stage turn down or up the volume, which means you're not lowering your bit rate in order to record a lower volume.
Okay.
Some of the other things that we're doing are an interchangeable lens mount system. So you can actually take the whole front of the camera off and replace it, in this case, with a PL mount designed by Hot Rod Cameras.
Wow, very nice. Very much like an airplane. You can take the front off, service the plane, and put it back on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and we have, our C mount has been done because it's the default mount for the camera, but we have 3 others in various stages of prototyping, the Micro Four Thirds, the EF, and the PL, which is very close to finished.
Okay.
And Ilya Friedman of Hot Rod Cameras did an amazing job on this piece.
They certainly hot rodded the camera out. It really looks like truly like a hot rod. I think that's the definition of a hot rod, taking something old and making it look new. You guys have hot rodded it, right? That's the old body with new insides. Mitch, what do you think of this?
It looks great. I'm very impressed that it's actually got a screen that's working, and it's got buttons that work, and I'm impressed.
Getting there. We have the menu programmed in, and a lot of people are building some really exciting accessories. The one that we have on here is just a cheese plate, which has been designed by Wide Open Camera. They're calling it the Swiss cheese plate because the Bolex was a Swiss camera initially, but there are many people that have come to us that are really excited. Ari is building a plate as well. There's a lot of excitement around it, and that's great for us.
Now, you guys had to make a lot of concessions, I know, but you also got to add a lot of features. I think it's over 100 features you added?
Yes.
And you did make some concessions. So let's first talk about the concessions and then some of the features you added.
So the concessions are mostly our time things and distribution things. So our original retail plans are probably changed.
I think we're going to be doing direct sales, which because we've had a lot of interest should be okay.
Right.
But we have added a lot of features without changing the intended price that we're going to sell the camera at, and so that makes it unreasonable for a retail outlet to carry the camera because they would be making no profit off of it.
So are you trying to say you're going to make no profit off of it too?
No.
In a retail situation.
No, I get it. I'm teasing.
Oh,
yeah.
Our profit is definitely going to be a little less than other companies make on their cameras.
All right.
Yeah.
For instance, the sensor that's in this camera is 4 times more expensive than similar size CMOS sensors.
Okay.
And things like that. And the electronics behind it. Yeah, exactly. Electronics behind it are also a lot more expensive to run a CCD sensor than it is to run a CMOS sensor. Because CMOS has the digital to analog, or the analog to digital built in, and you kind of just get a digital feed out of CMOS sensors. This is actually an analog sensor.
Okay.
So we have to convert it to digital. But the great thing is we get to convert it. So we get control over how that happens and what it looks like.
So the one question I have before we get to all these great features you have, and I know you have multiple hot shoe mounts and you've got all sorts of cool stuff, but my one question, and I know this is, I could see this burning up Mitch too, with all the talk of 4K, right? Even Blackmagic today announces a 4K camera. Are you worried that this is going to be yesterday's news, you know, when it gets to the street?
What we've heard from a lot of the people who've already bought the camera, because 4K was on the horizon last year when we announced in the first place, is that for many people, 2K is as good as they need. Because while there are now 4K TVs and 4K projectors, no one is using them, and the general populace hasn't really caught up in terms of creating or consuming media at that size.
So I say this all the time, and you're building my argument for me, and I agree with you guys. I mean, the thing is, 4K is hard to edit because you have a whole different workflow, and you have all these storage issues, and nobody has anything to display 4K on, and most of the stuff today is watched on the internet or on a mobile phone, not 4K, not going to be 4K, not going to be streamed to 4K. So while 4K is here for shooting, and you can shoot 4K, it's expensive, it's hard to work with, and nobody can view it in 4K, so what are you shooting it in 4K for?
It's really the value proposition. That's really the question is it a good value proposition? And 4K is literally 4 times as much work as 2K. 4 times as much space,
10
data.
times as much storage though.
At least 4 times as much storage.
It's definitely 10. I've done the math.
You've done the math. 10 times as much storage. And your
and that's
increase,
not fuzzy like our former President Bush.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of people.
And the increase in
perceptible difference is negligible.
The increase in clarity is maybe 5-10%.
Right, exactly.
Is it worth 4 to 10 times as much work for a 5 to 10%?
It's the law of diminishing returns. And Mitch and I are going to be talking about that a lot later. But yes, I agree 100%. But you know, I do have to ask the tough questions, and you guys are releasing a 2K camera in a market that's like 4K cameras.
The last, I guess the second to last short film that I directed, I shot on 4K as an experiment, and it really didn't do anything. I thought the image was a little bit fuzzy at 4K. It looked great when I took it down to 2K, and I think that's what a lot of people are doing with it, is they're starting at 4 and then just taking it down to HD.
We just shot a commercial for Sprint and Clearwire, and they're a phenomenal company, both of them. And the bottom line is that they wanted to shoot 4K, and I was like, why? And they said, well, and I said, but this video is going to run now, and then we're going to change it for 6 months from now, and then it's going to be dead. And by the time anybody has something that they can watch or you can broadcast 4K in, nobody will even remember we ever shot this commercial. And that's the key.
Yeah.
So I think you guys are on the right track.
As long as there are still many, I mean, this works in both a theatrical and a TV setting. In a TV setting, there's still a lot of networks that haven't gone over to HD. Can you imagine watching an SD network channel on your 4K monitor? Is going to look gross.
It'd be awful. We were talking about this earlier in the day. There was a church group in here doing Ustream, and they're still on SD. And they're taking donations to get, and they're telling people to tithe so they can get HD. So I'm now sitting here, I'm like a preacher. Let's tithe, people. Let's tithe. Let's get them some HD cameras. They need it. But the reality is, HD looks fabulous, and it's almost like it's good enough. I don't know. You know, when you look back at SD and when you look back at VHS and DVDs. I mean, right, Mitch? I mean, you needed HD, but you don't need 4K.
Right, there was a huge jump in quality between SD and HD, but any jump that has happened since the HD sort of revolution has been minimal. And there's still people like Pixar, you know, that are very influential entertainment industry groups saying, we're not going to work at 4K. Why? Prove to us that we can see it, because they say they can't see it, so they're not going to make.
Well, and the audience doesn't see the difference. That's the key. That's true.
I mean, look at the Alexa.
Yeah,
it's so true. You show audiences, they don't know the difference in video quality. So, Mitch, what do you think of the camera? Have you done a review on Planet 5D of it, or talked about
this camera?
It? Yeah.
I haven't had one in my hands yet, sir.
Excuse me, could you put that in his hands, please?
Which one?
the one that's easy to hold.
And by the way, the lens on this guy
is this how I crank
is
it?
one of our Kish designed cinema lenses that we're coming out with.
Well, so I wanted to talk about the things that you upgraded or changed. So originally, you weren't going to make your own lenses, right?
Well, we actually did a Kickstarter survey immediately when their Kickstarter campaign ended, because a lot of people had asked us about accessories, and we said, okay, these are 5 things we're thinking about making, you know, lights, lenses, a couple other things, you know, vote on the ones that you like the best for us to make. And lenses overwhelmingly was the #1 choice. And so we actually started discussing that with Kish very early on. It was always a plan. It's something that's been developed concurrently with the camera because we have our engineering team working in Toronto, and then we have Kish and his designer and another manufacturing team in China working on the lenses. So we're able to work with different teams on different parts of the project simultaneously, which helps us get many different things out at the same time.
And you guys have a huge crew now. It's not so Mitch, now you've had it in your hands.
It's very 60s, very retro. I love the feel of this. I saw that you guys worked really hard on the feel of this. Now, because the Kurt Lancaster we posted something that he did. It feels really nice.
So they've worked on the lenses, Mitch. They've really worked on every corner of this lens. They've grown their staff. They've got like 100 employees, 35.
No, yeah,
35.
It's probably
65?
About that.
They've got like 35
still
employees
under 30,
now.
right?
And
counting LA is like 30.
Yeah, it's about 30.
30. We'll say 30. And they've got all sorts of new features. They listen to their consumers. They put the analog audio in. They've got the lenses. What else?
HDMI. I don't know if we had added that at the time. We added HDMI since the Kickstarter, at least.
We got a port on the side right here.
And you've got a headphone jack, of course.
Yes, we have headphone and video.
And you don't really see, I heard you talking, you don't really see this LCD as being what you're shooting on. You see people plugging a monitor in. And
I assume so. I mean, this is a very, very clear, very sharp monitor. If you see this guy that has the icons on it, you can see the icons very clearly, even though it's a very small...
But it doesn't articulate. I mean, it moves up and down, but it doesn't really articulate around.
Not too much.
And it's small.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people already have EVFs and EVFs that can perform way better than any on-board monitor that we can have. And we'd like to give people the option to use those. We actually have a power out so that you can power from the camera into an EVF, so that you can, put everything on one giant battery.
Awesome. That's really awesome. And the battery's going to go underneath, or?
It's an internal battery. It's 4 hours, but we expect if you're in a pro situation, you probably have a battery solution that you're going to be using, or a battery belt.
Just like on a film camera, there's a 4-pin XLR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And that's something you added.
Is there any sample video up yet?
We have prototype video from our front end sensor prototype that's up on Vimeo. And we did 2 commercials also on that front end prototype. And as soon as we have images that we like enough, we have a Western that we're going to be shooting, and it'll be all exteriors, and we're going to really put it through the ringer.
Great.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you guys, but real quick, can people get this still on digitalbolex.com?
The first 100 cameras are completely sold out. They'll be shipping soon. And then we're going to be doing another pre-order, and that will be about 300 cameras. And if you want to be notified of when that is, how it's going to work is we're going to be giving priority codes to people who are interested. And if you are signed up on our mailing list, which you can get to digitalbolex/products, there's a little form, tell me how to be notified. We'll send out an email. It will say, sign up here to get your number. You'll get a number, and then hopefully you'll be able to get a camera when the pre-order starts.
Basically, the bottom line is go to digitalbolex.com.
Yeah.
Sign up. Join the forums. Hang out there. I go there regularly. I really do.
Yeah.
I know what's going on. I knew what was going on. I think it's great. It's a wonderful story. Congratulations. You guys have come a long way, and you surprised many folks. So,
thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
And good luck at NAB 2013. We've got a